There we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dance of the Soul. And we're having a Monday, and this is called Being in Life. Life is one of those things that we just do things and we roll with it. And you're going to find that on this show and on my show on Wednesdays that we're just human. We're very human with things, and Regan actually forgot his speakers, and so he just popped back in. I'm amazed that you did technology that
I had
quickly.
to run out to the van.
You're doing good. You're doing good.
Just
So
got back from LA. I'm going to shut my door here too. So
okay, so with that, you're on Dance with the Soul, and when I'm Natasha Venter, and I am one that I'm a medium, intuitive personal life coach, and with life as we go through things, we do life. We are life. And that's what we want to talk about on the show is being in life, doing life. And Regan Forston is a hypnotherapist working with the Newton Institute. And he is amazing on how he navigates through his own life for one, and then helping others through sessions. And we both do sessions, and like he talks about that we do, like I do it through my mediumship, I do it through my doorway with past lives, and I can see them pretty quickly. I remember being born, I remember a lot of my past lives, and actually I came to an awareness this last weekend that I'd like to share, but I'll get to that later. That And Regan does it through his own tools, and with working with me, as when you work with a team of people who are cleaner, more awakened, you become awakened yourself. So Regan, you're starting to get more intuitive feelings about life and that kind of thing too. So Regan, if you would like to say, how have you been? You've been traveling yourself.
yeah, I just got back from 10 days in Los Angeles. I had 5 life between life sessions while I was down there, and I learned. It's just funny. The more I do this work with helping people visit the afterlife and go through past lives, go to the afterlife, go before council, ask questions, get answers to everything. And to see just how immediately that changes people's lives. And I am getting more, I'm getting more intuitive of knowing what questions to ask on the other side. In other words, to make the sessions a lot more, we go more in depth. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the council, because people prepare for a life between life session, people prepare a list of questions that they want to have answered about their current life. Like, what is their mission? Are they on task? What's the best way they can keep connected to the other side? Which, by the way, is always meditation. That seems to be the closest thing we can do here in this life to keep connected to the afterlife is to meditate.
Well,
Um,
and I want to, and if I could step in here, Regan, because I
yeah,
want to, people when they hear meditation, it's one of those words that people think, oh, I have to sit cross-legged,
yeah,
counting backwards, kind of doing that. No, I want to give people this credit that meditation could be walking in nature.
yeah,
Meditation could be sitting outside and just listening. Meditation could even be reading kind of like one of these like simple books, and your mind wanders off because you've come
yeah.
into a relaxed state. So let's put the word of more of a relaxed state. Yes, meditation is the word that the universe will
Yeah,
use.
that's the general heading that this comes under, right? But I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, because when I was at a Buddhist retreat for 8 days years ago, we did open-eyed meditation. I'd never even heard of that. We just sit there and just stare at something, wide awake and staring at something. And then there's closed-eyed meditation. We did walking meditation, which was just going inward with our thoughts. We were walking barefoot in the snow around this area that we did. Oh my gosh. Um, and while we're speaking of that, there's a number of good apps, but the one I use all the time that's really, really good is called Insight Timer. If you just go to the App Store, it's Insight Timer, and it
Hmm.
has a picture of a singing bowl, of a golden bowl. They have thousands of things to do on their to meditation. They have like guided meditations where you can, you can have someone help you to go within for different, like if you're having trouble sleeping, or if you're having trouble in relationship, if you're trying to have your financial situation improve,
Mhm.
all kinds of different things. And then they have thousands of songs are recorded on there. Um, and if you just want to quiet your mind, listen to beautiful music to help get you to this relaxed state, you could do that. Like if you were out walking, that'd be a beautiful thing, wouldn't it, Natasha? They could go walking in nature and have this beautiful music playing. It's all about like calming down, you know,
Mhm.
just when your mind begins to relax, it becomes more alert to things that you don't normally see when you're just busy, busy, busy.
Exactly, and that's that part of life is that I notice that if I go from breathing to breathing, that slows me down. I can do meditation even walking down the hallway of a local school that I work
Yeah.
at. It's that thing. So Kristen, hi Kristen. Kristen just went traveling. She's a friend of mine, and she just went traveling through what was it? Pakistan
Wow.
and what was I know the names. I just slipped through my head. Uh, some major wonderful places there. She went through you went out to Alcatraz too, I know that you put on Facebook, and there's some oh man, can you imagine the energy that she was in because there's less tourists
Wow.
obviously. And so her husband is wonderful navigating through tourism. So it's that kind of thing. And then Veronica, she says, what was that website again? Uh
Oh, it's not a website, it's an app. It's just called Insight Timer. It's free, totally free. And you can pay a few bucks a month to for a few more things, but for basic meditation, and there's so many things on there when you scroll around everywhere. Insight Timer. It's kind of an interesting name for a meditation app, I think, but
mhm.
one thing that's nice on there is uh, it'll show you, like when you're going to begin to meditate, it'll show you how many thousands of people around the world are meditating at the same time as you. And sometimes it's like 250,000 people.
Yeah, isn't that
And it
amazing?
kind of gives you a sense of community.
Mhm.
Let's say there's a quarter of a million people right now that are relaxing and going to their higher self. And on that app, besides the guided meditations, they have some of the best known spiritually aware people on the planet giving talks. So you can learn a lot through listening to these talks. And it does. Some people like Natasha, they think meditation. Think, oh, I got to sit there for an hour and I do this stuff. I mean, you could do 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Like there's a page on there that says how much time do you have to meditate. And if you click like 10 minutes, then just the things that are 10 minutes long will come up.
Mhm.
The music or the talks or something, or an hour or a half hour, whatever. But just the fact of doing that and declaring that you want to start receiving more information, right?
It's
All of it's
huge.
intent, isn't it, Natasha? It's like,
It's huge.
yeah, because we're finding out with everybody that goes to the other side that they're saying, we're listening to you all the time. You just talk to us. You want to, pray to God, to Jesus, to whatever. They're always around us, listening to us. And if we're open enough, a lot of times you'll hear their answers to your prayers, or
And
you'll get,
that's
yeah,
that's the one thing that I think that a lot of our guides and angels and that they're impatient with us because we don't spend the time to listen, to
right.
be available, and
Yeah.
being
We're just this,
quiet.
we're doing this, oh, my life is so bad and blah, 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 blah. It's just calm down and listen.
Mhm. I know that sometimes my mind runs a lot, being a woman's brain. It
Yeah.
runs a lot, and so I'll play like a simple game of like solitaire. Where it's just picking a card. And that quiets my brain down enough that I can kind of sit there and my husband says, "You're always looking at your phone." I'm like, "No," because sometimes I've played a game or I played a card and then I'll just sit there for a few minutes and I'll check in because my brain's slowed down enough that I can be available with that. And it is because we're running from one thing to another. That's called life. That's why we wanted to call the show The Dance of the Soul, because it's dancing through much of what we're going through. And
Yeah.
as we can do that, that's what's amazing. Now, Kristen typed in about where she was at. She was in Poland, Romania, Jordan, Czech,
Wow.
and Republic.
Now that's a smorgasbord, of different vibrations, of different feelings. And man, I envy you, Kristen. I mean, I have not been to those places, and I would really like to. My significant other, Patty, and I, we were talking this week about she wants to retire in a couple of years anyway. She's enjoying her job still so much she doesn't want to, even though she could. But we want to say, so one thing, we want to retire where we're still healthy and can enjoy all these things. And there's so much beauty in the world, you know.
There is.
So it's just, it's and when I have people on the other side, one of the things that they love the most is the colored energy that they
Mm,
experience. One of my clients this last week, she went to a place of healing. And like when I have my clients over there, I'll ask their guides, I'll say, can they go to a place of healing? And they always say, sure. And then I have them describe it to me. And it's always very similar, but unique, to everybody. But the one that I had this last week, there were just pools. He said there were people getting in out of these pools. The water just felt like you just get in the water and you just feel like, healing. And then they were like rainbows of colored energy coming into their being, like through the top of them and all through their body. One was golden, and when they're in trance. But that's the thing about trance, that people think that you're just out, but no, you split it. Like it's kind of like Natasha's kind of walking around in trance all the time, because she can just, they're so close to her, she can, with her eyes wide open, and that. But for the lot of us, we need to relax. We need to, to get in a state like Natasha. We have to get in kind of a meditative trance-like state. And this place of rejuvenation is, sometimes it's waterfalls, sometimes it's beautiful gardens, but when they're there, they just feel like they're down regulating, like just,
mhm.
nothing, like one person said it, this light she was in, she says it felt like her beingness was like made up of billions of little BBs, and she could feel this energy going to each one of those BBs and cleaning it, and relaxing.
Now, see,
So,
I get a lot of that same state. There's in the Northwest here, we get some spring rain showers.
mhm.
And it's amazing when you have all this new growth coming out, and then you have your rain shower, and you see all these drips, the sun sprinkling through the drips coming off the leaves, and sometimes you'll even see a rainbow in the background, and you just step outside and you just it's like getting that washing of just and nature gives us that. If we can step into moments, every place has a moment where you step out and you go, and it's a magical moment. It's a magical moment. And if we can take in those magical moments more often, because they're available for us, it's is our frequency, our moment that we're in, that breath that we're breathing in that moment of frequency, to take in what nature is presenting for us, because that is our body, our 3D, I'm going to call it 5D, whatever world you want to be, because it's a combination of the physical in the midst of the magicalness of life. That when we're in those moments, we can really tap into the wash of it. And I know for us up here, sometimes we have waterfalls and the ions from that. Well, that's the same difference. It's just in this world, instead of going into the metaphorical spiritual, meditational world where we take our spirit, because sometimes our bodies need the physical interaction to do the cleansing.
Yeah, two of my clients this last week, they suffered from depression and anxiety, and the council members on the other side, when we asked, well, how can we reduce this or whatever, and it was meditation and then walking in nature, you
Hmm.
know. And one of my clients, she lives close to the mountains and everything, and she has too much fear of coyotes and the ones that came and grabbed their dog right when I was doing a session there last week.
Yes.
And luckily the dog, Chico, is doing just fine, by the way.
Oh, good, good, good,
He's
good, good, good.
recovered. He's just a snarly old grumpy
Now
self.
is she recovering a little bit?
Yeah, I did a EFT session with her, which is the tapping, which
Mhm.
helped her a lot. And then she had her life between life session, and she was, even though she allowed me to be at their place to do these sessions, which was beautiful for her to open up her house that way. And she'd heard about, I don't talk specifically about people, but in general, what people experience. And she still didn't quite get it. And I said, I think you're going to be the perfect subject. She had one of the most amazing sessions of my whole thing. Oh my gosh. She saw so much in detail. She got so much information about
Good
her.
for her.
Yeah, and they said Natasha, just like you had nailed it. She's this personality. She's like this young child in an adult body that just brings joy and love to everyone she sees, and this childlike innocence of of beauty and acceptance for people. And they told her that same thing that you said. They said, "Well, you have this youthful, young energy," and
Mhm.
her mission. She wouldn't mind me telling you this, I'm sure. Her mission was in this lifetime was to help people to be more compassionate. And
Mm,
she does
mhm.
that because she just, everybody that she's around, she's just this compassionate, caring person. And I know she's helped me in the 12 years that I knew her, was with her quite a bit. I mean, she really softened me a lot, because when she would talk about things, even if we had issues in our friendship, it was like she very compassionately would say, Regan, I have a request. It was so,
I did that to my husband. Honey, can I have 3 minutes?
yeah, I have a request. She was beautiful that way, in the fact that, she would, things that we needed to talk about or something, she would say, hey, I have a request. And then she'd bring it up, say, Regan, when da 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 da, it makes me feel this certain way. Is there something we can do about that? And you care about the person, you go, yeah. So
Yeah.
she, because us guys, you women, oh God, you just help us guys so much. And she even had a talk with her significant other on the other side. See, that's the thing that's so beautiful, is that we realize that part of us is always up there. Like
Mhm.
Natasha's higher self is up there. My higher self is up there too. And when people are in this state, they blend with their
Yes.
higher self, and you just feel like Solomon. Like
Mhm.
you just seem to know about your life and everything, and it's beautiful that way. So Natasha, yeah, you were right on about her. They just said, that's her childlike innocence is just being used to help people soften up.
Well, and I wanted to clarify something, that we're talking about someone that Rita goes down and stays at their house, and she had a traumatic issue
Yeah.
where she had a coyote that came in her backyard and actually snagged her small dog and
Yeah.
ran off
Oh,
with it, and it gave her PSD. PSD. Oh, I can never say those initials. That it really traumatically navigated with her. And so last week, with her being at the house, that Regan was helping her, and then she came on, and I was here, and Tony was here, and so we
yeah.
gave her some information and
Very
how to
helpful.
navigate through with that too. And so with that just checking up on her, because I actually
Yeah.
in a previous time when Regan
Yeah. You
was
kind
there,
of know her
I
now.
did
This
a
is
little
like,
bit of a session with her and gave her the information about her childlikeness, and so we're kind of combining two different shows at
shows. Yeah.
previous times, coming in and talking about this one
Yeah.
person who's a gem.
But
And
see,
so
when
with that.
yeah, and she was lucky because I was there. I helped her with the traditional EFT, which helped
Mhm.
uh, down regulate her energy from that. You guys gave her a bigger perspective of, what does coyote signify? And really emphasized the fact that the dog didn't die.
Mhm.
And the fact that she was lucky to be there, just turned in the window to look out the backyard just as it was
Just the
happening.
right time. That's the
Yeah, 20
magic.
seconds
I'm
later.
getting chills. That's the magic. That is the magic of
Yeah,
synchronicity, that if we step into and be available for, life can it doesn't have the peaks and valleys as much. It does have things happening to it,
yeah,
but it does not have the peaks and valleys, and that's what the universe is really asking us this summer to waken up to. And we just had this new moon with, and if you choose to believe in the Lion's Gate, which is another porthole, that something major happened in a region of our land, and they called it the Lion's Gate because it was something that that navigated and changed their world. And so they just we've all adopted it, like we adopted Halloween, we adopted this, we adopted that, so it's those adoptions. And as we go through life, it's amazing how when we work with it, I don't know if anybody else felt this, but the energy that came through this new moon this last weekend was pretty powerful, and it really was shaking a lot of us up. It was in Leo, yet at the same time, though, it was dealing with a lot of different planets and a lot of different connections. And some of us didn't sleep very well. Some of us slept a lot. Some of us kind of went, why am I thinking that still? Or there's some other scenarios. And so some of you watching, if you want to type in a little bit about what you experienced over this last weekend, that, we've come through this major car wash of waking up. What is our truth? And I was having a conversation with a friend that was visiting here, and I really got an observation about what truth is. That, we have a lot, if I can take a minute here, Regan, I would appreciate it.
Sure.
That we're all asking our truth to be awakened a little bit. Well, I know that for me, I have a child, my youngest child. She is transgender. And a lot of her friends and a lot of wonderful gifted beings are shifting their identities from male to female or binary, which is where they like to be called they.
Yeah.
They're not designed for him or her. But I know for me, in my old language of school and do's and don'ts, it's like, holy crumb, it's a single person. That doesn't connect to that truth.
Yeah.
And as we do it, but I really got the hit that is part of this truth. These really sneaky little corners of truth. It's like, oh, that's an old truth. That's an old truth that I was taught in my old school system, taught in the whole old language of the dictionary. It's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, it's not a good or a bad thing. It's just what we've been taught. And some of us who've been around this world a little bit longer, we've been taught it a lot of years, even in just subliminal things on TVs.
Yeah.
And commercials and stuff like that. So, though, I'm going to give you a little trick of what I've done. I've thought about their guides and angels around them. So instead of thinking of this one true being, I think of the them or they that is surrounding them. So when I speak of them, I think of they, I think of, which, for me, I am she, I choose to be she. Yet at the same time, though, somebody in spirit or somebody who's very spiritual could probably see my guides and everything around me. So even though I am Natasha, if it wasn't for my team, I wouldn't be who I am. So I have they and them around me.
Well, yeah.
So
That's
there's an
confusing me a
idea for
little
you.
too. Like, how in a sentence would you just say, instead of saying she went to, she went to the store, would you say they went to the store?
They went to the store.
Wow. Yeah,
Mhm.
because I with
Or
my
they over them, or them over there, or they are going, if it's, I'm just going to name a name. If it's Samantha, Samantha's over there because that's the name that they choose.
yeah.
Because some of them, like my daughter went from Darren to Fia. So now she's going by Fia. So Fia is over there. Now, if she was binary, the pronoun would be they or them. And I know there's many more pronouns. I'm not,
Yeah.
there's always going to be a new pronoun. I'm just going with the basic pronoun of what I understand
Yeah.
because
Just
it's hard to
getting
keep up with everything. But
yeah.
I'm just honoring this new truth. We're waking up our truths. Now, does it stick? In that certain categories it does. But yet when I'm writing my my newsletters and stuff, I have to go back to my old truth.
Yeah.
Because of pronoun punctuation and different things like that. So with that as we go through life, sometimes we don't have to clean up all our truth, but we gotta shift a little. It's like updating our computers to you know another level of new knowings.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've been like my son would take me to once in a while. One of the things we do to connect, even though he's in his 50s now, he likes to go to raves, and he has a lot of friends that are in the oh gosh, what do I call where they wear all black and stuff.
Hmm. Goth.
Goth, yeah,
The old word is goth.
yeah, the
Yeah.
old word, goth and everything. And a lot of the people in there are like my son will say, don't call her she, call her. And I forgot until you said that what it was because it was my mind. I was confusing. It's not that I don't mind whatever is the proper thing to call them, but I'm just thinking in the it's just a language issue because they usually means plural. So it gets confusing. Then like maybe they can come up. Maybe they'll eventually come up with a term that doesn't conflict with so
It,
we can speak properly or communication can be better.
that's the thing though is that we're not. It's
Yeah,
not. It's not. That's why I go to them or they, and I think of their guides with them. I think of the angels with them. I think
okay.
of their supporting roles, their families that are
I
with them.
That's a good way
And
to picture to help me to picture that right.
yeah, and I'm hoping and praying that people who have chosen this wonderful path, because that's our old world. Our old world was nobody, we had more feminine, we had more masculine, yet but then many were not any gender at all.
Yeah,
And when we were in some of our previous lifetimes, and many of us are going back to that. And we're learning that we don't have to fit in a box. There again is
yeah.
breaking our truth up. So Veronica said about the new moon that she slept good, um, and Kristen said we were in Poland at the time of the new moon. Did not sleep well for a few days. I was kind of with you,
Traveling,
Kristen. I was with you, Kristen. I didn't. I was waking up. I was going to bed or sleep at midnight, even though I was in bed at 9 and waking up at 4. So I totally get that dance. That's
yeah.
how the moon affects me.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
hear
I
that it
don't sleep.
affects, time and our sleeping cycles. It takes people a while when they go to some places like 10 hours ahead of us or behind to acclimate themselves. And so
Hmm.
people have different tricks they do, like staying awake. Like if you go from here to England and they say, well, just stay awake until it's the normal time you go to bed there. I mean, but it still knocks people for a loop.
Hmm. I know when I traveled over to Spain, they suggest the same thing. So what I heard is when I'm flying over there, if I can take a nap towards the beginning of my flights,
Yeah,
so that, and then as I get closer, try to stay awake so I get into that time zone. Because I know I do that when I'm traveling to Florida when I'm visiting my in-laws. Is that
yeah,
I try to navigate through staying more awake so I can so I can get into, because they're morning people too. So it's like an extra 4 hours,
yeah.
3 hours ahead of time. It's
Oh,
one of
and then
those things.
what we were saying about, I've learned so much about, or when people are on the other side and they're in their true self, in a sense, they're everything. They're male, they're female, they're
Mhm.
androgynous, they're everything, and they choose. People choose to be male or female. Like sometimes we'll ask that question. When you reincarnate, do you usually reincarnate as in a female form or a male form? And some of them have this. I've had one the other day goes, "Oh, female, man, that's the best." And others go, no, I go back and forth. And when people see their guides on the other side, I'll say, well, describe them to me. Are they look male or female? And sometimes they say, no, they're like androgynous. You
Mhm.
can't really tell. So it gives you an idea that in our true form, that this thing about sexuality, it's like there's the two extremes, heterosexual, homosexual, and then there's about 50 shades of gray in between that. You know,
Mhm.
and that's what sexologists have been saying for years. They've been trying to get us to look at a gradient, so we can't just put people in a box that you're either this or you're that, you know. And when you do that, then you just, society is finally allowing people to find out and to be happy with the gradient that they are, that place that they are in between the two extremes, you
Mhm.
know, so that they can feel like, yeah, this is me. I'm, you know, before, people, people that were, for instance, some of my clients that were bisexual, they had to try to fit in one or the other, and they couldn't just be who they wanted to be. So they would say, well, I guess I'm 60% heterosexual and I want to have a guy in my life, so I'll be that. But they just still didn't feel quite right expressing their sexuality because part of them was not there.
Mhm.
So now, thank God, I mean, some people say some religious people would say, oh, we're going, everything's going to hell, everybody's
Yeah, nah.
but really, the way we look at it, we're going the opposite way.
We're
It's like
going, yeah,
we're
we're
just,
going to light. We're
yeah,
going to the light,
yeah,
because that's the thing is that, and I'm being an observer, right or wrong, dealing, because I've negotiated with my child since birth. Actually, I was one that I was driving north on I-5 at a certain place in my freeway when she, as a soul, asked me to be her mother.
oh,
So I remember that moment where that soul asked me to be mother. Now I had to take a little bit of time to get my husband on board with this picture, and then finally I was pregnant. And so I remember those dances of being pregnant and the communication we had, and when the soul was there and when the soul wasn't. And I'm not perfect at it. At the same time I was carrying this child, my mom was coming down with Lou Gehrig's disease, or starting
yeah,
to be diagnosed with that Lou Gehrig's disease. So I was kind of in and out of a lot of realities during this time. So with that as this child went on, was very masculine coming in, very masculine coming in.
hmm,
And as time went on, I can feel this sense, because there was a time when all the friends were over, and all the friends wanted to go out and play guns, because it was a lot of the males were I would watch, because a lot of my friends had the male children, and they would be out playing guns and stuff, and she wouldn't want to be out with them. She would want to be in talking with me. And I always said I had my girl with me. She always liked to have conversations. She was always my conversationalist. She
yeah,
always had that, if I wanted to wear something, I would ask her, do I look good? And at this time it was him, in language. And then as time went on, she became more lighter, more feminine,
yeah,
more. And I can tell you that when that awareness came, that she was who she was, and she started that path, I can tell that my child's depression, the child's mind angst, the stories, the looking at thyself and saying I'm ugly, slowly started waning and started becoming lighter. And I can tell you that, yes, surgery is going to be in the future, she hopes, but at the same time, though, that there's this dance of union that she's
yeah,
finding with herself, because she's finally coming home. And I can tell you, though, that spending time with like-minded people makes a big difference. Being accepted by like-minded people. If you're around, if you're doing this scenario and you're not around like-minded people, you're in a dead end road for emotions sometimes, because it's hard to go through this process without support. And so if you can, if anything, find it online. Even if you can't find it in your community, find it online, because support is so important for doing these, finding your new truths, undoing a truth of religion or society or whatever it is that you're struggling with, especially if you live in the South and these old beliefs are like so ingrained
yeah,
of how you, if you talk to spirit, you belong in the insane asylum. It's like there's these old truths that don't fit anymore. And if you are that individual, I'm asking you, find some way to get community. Find some way to find support, because you're worthy of living. You just haven't found the doorway yet, to get
One,
out.
yeah. One of my clients that was concerned about this, really good person, but he was having trouble with all of this gender thing going on. And so he asked on the other side that when he's before the council, and he said, is this, sexual revolution that's going on with people describing themselves in all different ways? Is this something that's adding to society, or is this taking away from society? And over there, the council said, no, it's a good thing.
It's a good
That's all
thing.
they said. It's a good thing, you know. Uh, and the thing that helped me when I was just, it's like, trying to understand all this. The thing that made me understand it the most is this comes down to love. In other words, how can we tell somebody that they can't love somebody because they don't look a certain way or they don't have particular body parts, and that they can't love them and express their love sexually, or whatever ways that's normally what happens. I mean, there's lust and there's love, and it can be dysfunctional of some sort, but when it's in its natural way and someone loves somebody, how can we say no, pull them away from that and say, no, that doesn't fit my idea of what you can love, and not allow that. I had a cousin who lost. I mean, I when I look back and I think of playing with them when they were, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years old when we get together, and I look back and I go, oh gosh, if someone said, is my cousin gay? I would say 100%. Yeah, he is. Everything was that's just the way he was.
Hmm.
And he's just the most wonderful guy. And back in the 80s when AIDS was going around, his partner had the AIDS so bad, his partner talked him into getting him some poison, and you know he didn't put it in his partner, but he gave him the poison and said, "Okay, I'm going for a walk." And he said that was the toughest time of his life. I mean, he's having, poor guy. And my mom, who was only accepting because Jesus says to love everyone, and that was really good. But she would tell him, she would say, "Well, it's okay that you're that way as long as you don't act on it," you know. And he would just say thank you to his, to my mom, and so that was her way of trying to be okay with it, but she had to go according to her beliefs.
Hmm.
So
It's a strain sometimes to break out of our old boxes, you
yeah,
know? I loved my husband through this process. I mean, he's come from a very strong family, and it took him a little bit to dance with this, and yet he has, and I'm so proud of him for trusting the process as much as he humanly can. That there was a lot of healing that happened between my child and her dad because of this, and um, it's amazing where we're all going,
yeah,
and magic is here, and it's just amazing. But it's that breaking out of the old box.
yeah.
It's
The
really
only
breaking out of the box.
As a regular therapist, the only thing that I would suggest to people that have children that identify as the other sex when they're young, and then they're having issues with it, would be to help them identify that way. But if they're making choices as far as changing their physical apparatus, and everything that comes with that, is to wait until they're adults, or something, till they really know, because other clients I've had, their sexuality gets all confused to people when they're young. And
Hmm.
a lot of boys experiment with other boys that and they turn out to be totally heterosexual, but they don't know what to do with the sexual energy that they have. And a number of my clients they would say, well, I went through my lesbian years when I was, early teens and that, and then I found out, no, I'm really more comfortable identifying as heterosexual, maybe
Hmm.
a little bisexual in there or something, but to do the drastic thing of, because that's irreversible, a lot of that. And so I know I've been reading a lot of cases where parents allow their children, like, when they're 8 or 10 or 12, and gave permission to have stuff done. And then when they get a little older, they're going, what did I do? Because it
Yeah.
was just, they didn't quite have it figured out yet. So, it should just be at a point when these children and that really past the age of reason a number of years, and then they really realize, yeah, this is what I want to be, just like Caitlyn Jenner did.
Hmm. Well,
So
and this is what I observe. And there's a scenario that I came across that I was interacting with a young child, kindergarten age, and mentioned about wanting to be the opposite sex. What I got a tap was is that this child soul was so close to being on the edge of not being fully in the body, that it was still attached to some of past life interactions. Now, does that mean that that truth cannot carry through in this lifetime? Yes, it can. But there's that part of, is that person truly in their body? Is that person truly, and that's the thing with a lot of children who now are very intuitive. They're very much into the spirit world. They're not necessarily attached to this realm because it's vibrationally too challenging. For one, I mean, being dense in this lifetime is pretty interesting sometimes. And so with that a lot of them choose not to be fully in the body, especially if they came in that they were preemies, especially if they were if they struggled coming into this world, like there was a troubled birth. There's a lot of things that can come in. And this is just a truth that I'm hearing, so it's not I believe in love. I believe everybody's here. I believe that they should be. But I agree with Regan just a little bit with that time to get used to being in this lifetime. Like I told my
Yeah.
child, I said, I am so backing you. But remember, please, that if you change your name legally, if you change your identity and you walk through that door, you have to make sure that you stand at that doorway, look back, and make sure you want to walk through that doorway.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I said. I said, it's not that I don't want you to. I totally want you to walk through those doors. But you personally stand at that doorway, look back, and say, I'm definite.
Yeah.
I can see myself 30 years in the future. I can see myself 20 years in the future. I can see myself 10 years in the future, that at this moment, I will not regret making that decision.
Yeah.
And with that, she thanked me for that because, and I can tell you that she's done the hormones and stuff. And there's other things coming up because of finances that are taking a little bit longer. But, I think, I know now that she's making steps. For me, I know that, but I also feel that in her, that when she's making a decision, she goes, Mom, I know, I know,
Yeah.
I know. And that makes me feel good that, because I would love her even if she made the oops. I don't, it doesn't matter if she changes her name and then decides to go back 10 years later. I don't care. It's her journey.
Yeah.
It's that part of saying, if anything, so that you don't have so much of a life. I want you to have more of a life, and making a choice to change your sex is, and your identity is,
That's huge.
it's huge. It's huge. And I love you through that process. And that's where I have done a lot of sessions with people, because I do have this open-mindedness that I don't care. I really, I've had lifetimes where I've changed my sex too. I mean, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. I've had clients that go to past lives where they've been homosexual and actually murdered for it, you know.
Mhm.
And so I'll tell you it's just hard. It's just like we were saying, it's so hard because when our subconscious is programmed into this is the way it is, and then all of a sudden somebody changes something, our subconsciouses don't want to change. They just want, it takes effort, a lot of
Mhm.
times to come around, because I'm open to it too. I had a friend one time who was lesbian, and then she wanted to go on. She just got curious about guys. It's fine. She's in her late 40s, and so she started dating guys, and she found out I'm not lesbian. He says I identify more as the other, but in high school she was overweight, not real attractive. She couldn't get. No one asked her to the dances and that sort of thing. And there were some other girls there that were gay that she befriended, and so her first sexual thing was lesbian. So
Mhm.
she thought, well, I guess I'm a lesbian. I don't know, because that's just the way it worked out. But then she found out later in life that she was heterosexual. So this sexual thing, it can be cut and dried. People just know, or there's all this figuring out. What am I? And
But
and
that's
so
the
I mean,
soul's
it's a
journey.
lot to figure out.
Yeah, it's the soul's journey. We each individual come in with an understanding or a knowledge, our soul does, that we have things that we're going to work on. And then our bodies, minds, and emotions go through the process of going, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that one.
Yeah.
You
You know,
know,
I would,
and I wouldn't, I wouldn't say that my child totally knew that what she was going to work on was going to be through this process,
yeah.
but it came up in this process because it got triggered in this process. And who's to say that she didn't plan it, of doing this coming in more
Right.
binary.
Yeah, maybe her whole life is because people that have to go through the psychological stuff that they have to endure is so much, with the way society looks at them, with the way they have to learn to love themselves, the confusion and everything. So the lessons are many that they have.
Mhm.
And I mean, when they leave this life, they go, whew, boy, did I have to learn some things. If anybody watching this or something has someone they know that's you know on the fence, like what am I, they all this stuff. I'd love to do some sessions with them and to get a perspective when they're in heaven or on the afterlife, and have some of these wise, the guides, or have them go back to when they chose this life and they could see what they chose. I might be able to help them get some pieces to the puzzle to help them, get
Mhm.
through this, and also too, um, I did 2 sessions in Hollywood. I did one with a Hollywood documentary filmmaker and his wife, and they both had the full meal. They just, wow. I know. And he wants to do it. And when he's on the other side, the guides told me, he says, that's why I got you together with Regan, because we want you to do a documentary on this to let more people know this greater truth. So we're at some point in the future, we're going to be doing that. But one of the he's thinking of it in like 40 episodes, where we, because there's so many, like we're thinking about uh, maybe having, getting a couple homeless people that are
Mhm.
down and out, and having them do the life between life session if they're open to it, and find out, why did they choose to be in this position they're in now? Is this to teach us? Is this to teach them something they have to learn? Just in other words,
And I would say yes and yes on that, because every being is a teacher and they also learn. So it's a dual process.
yeah,
No one's in this lifetime to either learn just to teach others. 'Cause it's like you really can't teach others unless you learn yourself.
yeah. I would like to have even some women that are pregnant. I would love to do the session for and find out if they can talk to the soul that's in their belly right now, and in the afterlife, and find out some information. It's just, I'm so curious about this because there's so much to be learned. To give us an idea that this whole life thing is so amazing, and there's so much information that we have blocked out that we now can have.
Hmm.
Because just imagine if I'm thinking if a mother has a conversation with this little baby that's going to be there, and talks to that baby and the baby's higher self, the soul self, and finds out why that baby chose her to be the mom, and what does the baby hope that she can teach him, and what's the baby going to teach her. Then when the baby's born and you go, oh my God, there's so and so, I already know this stuff. I would think that would help them to be better mothers, to be more mindful of the way that they treat, to really look at the lessons that their children are helping them learn. I just think it would be a big benefit, that way, and just to be, so that that baby's life is more connected, more spiritual. That both of
Hmm.
them are. They're least likely to create bad karma. You know, uh, with the baby. So I mean, just knowing.
I'm gonna make a disclosure here. No matter how perfect you try to be, you're always gonna screw something up.
Yeah, I think so.
That's called life. It's called life. I mean, how many times in
Yeah,
a day can we mess with someone and we don't have any intentions of doing it?
I
It's
know it.
called life. And as better as I try to do, I still the
Yeah,
thing is, though, I had the awareness when I had to say I'm sorry. I could have
yeah,
done different.
yes,
And I didn't do that perfectly either, but yet at the same time, though, that's one thing that my kids appreciated is that I was willing to say,
yeah. Well, don't you think, Natasha, too, that as we become more mindful and everything about things, we're the damage that we do is we're going to correct it a lot faster because we
Mhm.
take responsibility and we know that we need to say we're sorry, that we're imperfect too, that we're learning this lesson. When you think if we didn't have this higher viewpoint, then it gets really gritty sometimes. I
It
mean,
does.
yeah,
It really does, and we're perfectly imperfect going through this process, and that's the thing is that I want people, I got this, new moon kind of meditation moment where I was honoring the whole process, and I was kind of in that dream state when I was waking up, and I was having a conversation about how, oh, the higher power, I choose to call God at this time, the higher power trusts me with souls.
yeah,
Trust me to take care of the souls around me. And I got my day-to-day life, and then I got the image of a lifetime when I was an angel, World War One feeling, where I was rushing back and forth on one of the war fields where they were battling, and I was taking bodies or souls away, because they passed, or coaxing them. Come on, you can do it. Let's get you up. Let's get you back to the trenches. Let's get you back to where you can get help. And I was doing that, and I got the bigger picture. Oh, every day there's a moment where my higher power chooses me to take care of a soul.
yeah,
Pretty impactful thinking, isn't it? How
yeah.
do
I
we
mean,
how do we navigate through that soul?
yeah,
Sometimes we're grumpy. Sometimes we are very grumpy. There again, it's that taking a break and saying, "Can I just step out for a minute and recoup if we can?" Or saying, "I'm sorry, do over." Those practices to do better. But you
yeah.
know,
Well, people, when we ask what their mission is, they're on the other side, they're before the council, and they say, we want to clarify what my client's mission is. And sometimes it's this most simple thing. It's
Mhm,
not some like you're going to be Gandhi or somebody that's going to change the world. It could just be that their whole goal was to bring their daughter or son into this life
mhm.
and to be their guide to help them to grow up, to learn certain things. It could be that simple, you
And
know.
sometimes it is the experience of saying no, having that tough love and saying no, and then learning that experience.
Yeah.
Kristen said, "Much love and gratitude for you both for your wisdom." Bye for
Sure.
now. Bye,
Hey,
Kristen.
Kristen. Hey,
Thank you for coming in and sharing your time with us.
yeah, we love when you're there supporting us. It's great.
Yes, it is, and that's the thing is that sometimes we feel like we have to be peachy clean and no, you don't do anything wrong to lessen their experiences. No, sometimes those experiences are saying, we've had this conversation 3 times now, I'm done.
Yeah.
And doing that process, we can do what we can do, and it's just amazing when we're finding that grace just to be in the moment. Who am I supposed to be in this moment? What am I supposed to do in this moment? Where am I supposed to go in this moment? And asking those questions. What am I here to learn from this experience? And what is this here to teach me? And when we can do those things, sometimes when we're up against kind of a not comfortable spot, we can sit in those moments just a little differently and say, what am I supposed to do here? I'm supposed to learn boundaries, okay, or love through a tough moment. Or, oh, am I supposed to learn that I gotta let go of control? It's those, there's many different avenues.
Yeah.
And what is that other person supposed to learn? And I'm not saying supposed to, because that's not up to me and it's not up to the person. It's up to what their universe, their team is wanting them to learn at that time. And sometimes that is about, ooh, I'm supposed to shush when I get angry.
Yeah.
Or, it depends on the process.
Yeah. I was trying to be mindful of everything that I do. Boy, that's hard today. But then I
It's a
find myself doing that. I
responsibility.
was surprised, like a few weeks ago, trying to be mindful during the day. And I'm going, Regan, you are so judgmental. You know, you do it automatically. You see someone, you make an instant little judgment, boom, boom, boom. And I go, God, am I doing this all the time and not aware of it? And like, you got to like, come on, get with this. So I would then for part of the day, as I'd make this quick judgment, then I'd immediately apologize to that person and go, hey, I'm just learning here, sorry about that. But it is difficult being, trying. I mean, it would be a fun exercise though. I mean, you wake up in the morning, like, okay, a good thing to say is you wake up in the morning is just bless this day and those I serve, try to put you in the
Mhm.
good mood or try to put you in that mood and realize that everybody that's put in front of you in the day, that you have some sort of interaction and make it a positive one, make it one of
Exactly.
love, not of selfishness and greed and all that, so but I surprised myself. The poem that I remember, Rumi, Rumi, for those of you watching this who haven't heard him, he's probably the most well-known poet of the history of poetry. And he was a Sufi mystic
Mhm.
that loved God so much that when he would talk about God, people go, "Oh, how can he be?" He's just he just would not. It was like it was his lover, like God was his
Mhm.
lover. He was just so into that. And the one poem, and I wish I had memorized it, but when I read it, it meant a lot to me. And that's picture your guide, or you want Jesus or whatever your religion is, driving a wagon, and you're in the back. And sometimes the roads get bumpy, and the horse and buggy's going along, and boom, and you fall off into the mud. You know,
Yes.
and then your guide is just looking at you, smiling. He sees you a few feet back, and he's getting a little further away, and he says, come on, get back up on the wagon. And some of us just want to, wallow in the mud, and pretty soon he's way down the road. And then for the finally time we get up, it takes so much time to finally get back on the wagon. But what it seems like that awakening spiritually is that you still fall into the mud. All of us do all the time, but you get up and you brush yourself off quick, and the distance between you and getting back on the wagon is shorter.
Mhm.
And that's when you can think, okay, I'm getting somewhere. But sometimes people think, well, if I fell back in the mud, I'm just not worth anything. But it's just, you know, get back on the wagon quick as you can. Move forward.
Exactly,
And that's
exactly.
not as
So
good as you're gonna do being a human being.
exactly. So, Susan, I was shown it's time for me to take a big step back from mothering very recently. Time for my 18-year-old to step up and take a lot
Whoa.
more control of his own life. Yes, yes, yes.
Way to go,
Welcome to the
Susan.
world of reality. Oh, my love is with you. My love is with you. That's an interesting balance, especially when they're in the same home as you.
Yeah.
So my
That's
love goes to you.
that's a big step that not just the women, but women more, it seems like, because they're so attached to the children. Us guys, sometimes we go, "Oh, get the heck out of here and do your own life."
But
And then
that's the male female. If women listen to that more,
yeah,
kids would grow up more. And
yeah,
if the men would listen to the women more, they might find more compassion that, oh,
yeah,
wait a minute, my kid's not ready to move out right now.
right.
Maybe another 3 months from now, but there's that fine line
Yeah,
between, men are wonderful for stirring the pot to get things moving. But sometimes that pot timing is not necessarily cooking in
yeah.
the quickness that men want to do.
You know what the health people are saying, that sometimes mothers are so doting, they won't let their kids even play in the dirt because they're afraid they're gonna get germs. And then they find out that later on in life, they haven't built up antibodies to germs that are out there, and they get sick and die. So you have that balance between allowing them to move forward on their own, which she's realizing now, which is huge. So I know how hard. I
Mhm.
had 5 kids, and it was, you know,
It's
and
an
some of them
interesting
just go naturally, and the others, you have to, at a point, you have to say, "Look, I can't hold you up all this time. I can't bail you out of jail.
Yeah,
I can't bail
exactly.
this. If you make a mistake from now on, you just pay the consequences." And that's how look at how we learned, right? Like how Susan learned, how we all learned, and it was like by making some mistakes.
Tripping over those rocks.
Yeah.
Metaphorical rocks.
So you love
Well,
them, and you just, cut the tether there and let them go out on their own a bit. We'll always be there to love them, and they'll appreciate that too.
mhm. That's one thing that my kids always said is that, "Mom, no matter what you did, we always knew you loved me."
And that's the best thing a child can say to you.
Isn't it? It just that just warms my heart and my love. So with that, I've been pushing I've been pushing and pushing them towards my agenda. Yes, but sometimes, and
Yeah.
I wanna clarify, because we as adults know what an agenda could be. Yes, we want you to stand on your own 2 feet. Yes, we want you to do what you can do. Yes, we want you to know that you have the smarts to get there. It's you believing in it, and so, yes, it is our agenda, but sometimes that agenda has a little bit, of sprinkling of the greater good to get them out
Yeah.
of the house. We just gotta remember, ah, I gotta keep my own ego out of it a little bit. And that's just practice makes better. Practice makes better, my dear.
Yeah. Well,
So
one thing,
go ahead.
Susan, you can do, but the 18-year-old has to be mature enough to be open with it. But I don't know how your finances are, but if you find a good life coach that's in your area, that life coach can kind of embed in him some of your agenda, and he'll listen to it.
Yes.
Because when it comes from mom, they don't listen, but it comes from someone they look up to as like a professional. Like when they're in school, it's good to have them have a school counselor to help them prepare whether they're going to do college or not. Yeah.
Very well said, Sue.
Yeah.
Very well said. Very well
Yeah.
said. So we're gonna end on that
Okay.
note because it's actually
Thanks
five
for the
o'clock.
laugh, Sue.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. And I just want, if anybody, going back to that statement that I said, the awareness that I came to the other day, that my higher power, the greater love, the moment of whatever we are saying that is our greater power, trusts us with other souls. If we can just handle them with a little more tender care, kindness, understanding, even if we're in a really rough spot, life can make life can be a little bit more smoother for us all.
Yeah.
And that's that thing about waking up our old truths. It's waking up. So Regan, how do people get a hold of you?
They can hold me through visittheafterlife.com, like it's there on the screen. Just a quick overview of what I do. I do regular therapy for people that just have, problems with, I specialize in PTSD, fears and phobias, anxiety, depression. That seems to cover most everything about. I'll still do a little losing weight, stop smoking. I just had one of my clients lost 82 pounds, and she attributes it to a few sessions we did. So, just anything working with the subconscious. But what I love to do is to help people have the experience of going to where souls go in between lives. It's called a life between life session. I'm one of the researchers with the Newton Institute, and we love this work because we're finding out what happens when we die, where we go, and what we do when we're there. It's an easy process. About 90% of the people that attempt it have a successful session. Sometimes you can get some emotional healing and some even physical healing sometimes. So, you go to a past life, go there, ask a bunch of questions. You spend a couple hours over there and come back. And it's very life altering for most people because they see everything in a bigger way. It's just like someone that goes to Natasha and then all of a sudden someone is talking to them from the other side and they know that that's them. It's like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden then there's an afterlife. That when you pass away, you're going to be just with them. It really makes life a lot easier. So you can get a hold of me at visittheafterlife.com. I have a free book on there right now called Reincarnation is Real. It's about all the current research being done, which will blow your mind. There's so much being done, research all over the world in this, and it's really pretty much been proven, that this is the way things are. So anyway, get a hold of me there. What about Natasha? How are they going to get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me by going to angelicclarifications.com. I love giving inspiration so that we can move through life. I've been helping people through a lot of shame lately, a lot of guilt for what they did, that they didn't do enough, or that there's these moments. And doing the mediumship and doing the personal awareness part of my business, my love goes to everyone through these processes that we're waking up to. And it's wonderful to see someone who comes in with deep imprinted memory foam depression of their life and actually standing up and saying, ouch, that hurt, but I can walk forward now. it's just, it brings sunshine to me because and I hope to bring sunshine to them. It's just the moment where we don't necessarily relieve ourselves, like your friend going through still probably some of the moments of having the coyote come into her yard.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, though, doing this work, doing this gift of supporting the soul through their journey, supporting the human through their journey of life, and their emotions through their life. Like, I'm going to be teaching a class here locally about emotions and grief and how we can navigate through some of that. And I'm doing that at a physical store. That as we go through life and go through things, it's amazing how we can just give ourselves grace. Give ourselves grace.
Yeah.
So you can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. So thank you, everybody, for watching us. We're here
Yeah.
Mondays
Thanks for
at
chiming in,
4,
everybody.
Pacific time, and I'm on Life Clarifications on Wednesdays on the same channels that you are here. So blessings to everyone and have a great time. Remember, new moon, new concepts, new ideas, and walk the path because it's only practice makes better.
Yeah.
Blessings.
Love yourself.
Yes.